Hello, thank you for tuning in. I am Mercy Favor, your professional teacher as usual. And today I want to take you through a very interesting topic. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, like, share, and if possible, ring the bell. So today we are going to learn about different methods of service or different categories of service methods, if there's anything like that. Yes. I wanted to tackle this topic because most of the time you ask someone, do you know types of or methods of service, and someone is like, yeah, and then they give you the wrong answers. Like they can tell you silver service, plate service. Yeah, you're right, but you're not very right. So now today I want us to look at different methods of service, and by the way we have 5 different service methods. We have table service, we have assisted service, we have self-service, we have in situ, and we have, how many are those? Table service, assisted service, self-service, specialized service, and in situ service. Those are 5 different categories of service methods. So before we start really tackling each one of it, let me just give you a brief definition of what food and beverage service is. Food and beverage service method is basically the service and presentation of food to the table. Now, the reason why we are categorizing these different types of methods of service is because sometimes it is the waiter that brings the food to the table, and sometimes the guest is forced to serve the meals by themselves. So today we want to name different methods. If it is the waiter bringing the food, what is it called? If it is the guest serving the food, what is it called? So first things first, we're going to start with the table service. So table service basically, it's the waiter that does everything. The waiter takes the order, the waiter serves the meal, the waiter does clearance. Now and it is the most common type of service in most, if not all, of the hotels. Now, table service, the waiter does everything, and the work of the guest is just to sit, order, and relax and enjoy. So now, when we're tackling table service, remember we've said it's the bringing of food to the table. The waiter does everything. So now this table service also has examples. We have things like plate service, we have silver service, we have family service, and the list is endless. So when you're looking at table service, we've said it's the waiter bringing the food. This type of method, like for example, plate service, food is plated from the kitchen by the chef. So the work of the waiter is just to carry the plate to the table. Normally done from the right-hand side of the guest, and even the clearance is done from the right-hand side of the guest. So plate service is an example of table service. So if someone asks you, give me examples of the methods of service, and you say plate service, don't you see you're wrong? Because it falls under table service. Another example of table service is silver service. Silver service is normally done from the left-hand side of the guest, whereby the waiter, uses a serving spoon and a serving fork to serve food from the left-hand side of the guest. And then we also have family service, whereby food is served from platters and hot pots, and the guests will serve themselves. So now we know about table service. Another example of categories of methods of service is assisted service. Now, as we said, table service, the waiter does everything, but when it comes to assisted service, they share the duties half-half. The waiter is involved, and even the guest is involved. Like for example, when you're doing buffet, the guest will pick the plate, go to the buffet, and do the serving. But the waiter will come in, whereby they may be requested maybe to serve beverages. Or during breakfast, for example, the guest will serve like sausages, eggs, and everything. And then the waiter will bring in like tea or coffee or porridge. So it is 50-50. This type of service is normally done by the waiter and the guest as well. So that is assisted service. That is the second method. The third method is self-service. Now most people confuse buffet with self-service. Buffet is not an example of self-service. Buffet falls under assisted service, whereby part is done by the waiter, part is done by the guest. So self-service is whereby the guest does everything by themselves. The guest does everything by themselves. And a good example is maybe tray service Or in most of the cafeterian, whereby the guest goes to the counter, pays, and carries the tray and goes and they carry their own food, or they do takeaways. That is self-service. Another good example of self-service is in supermarkets. In supermarket, the guest will come in, order what they want, and then go to the cashier, pay for the food, and then if they're having their meals at the supermarket, they'll carry it on their trays to the restaurants. So that is purely self-service. There's no waiter or anything. You're just serving the food, you carry it yourself, and you do everything by yourself. Now that is where we have problems with most of the guests. Most of the guests do not understand the difference between these types of services. So a guest walks into a restaurant in a supermarket, and this guest is furious, is demanding to be served. You're like, no, excuse me, sir, this is self-service. And when the cafeterians tell you that it's self-service, you go reporting, oh, the staffs are rude and everything. They're not rude. You are not learned. So now you know. When an establishment is offering self-service, it means that the guests will pay by themselves. The guests will carry their own trays. The guests will basically do everything. What the waiter does is maybe just clearing of the plates. So that was on self-service. The third one is on the fourth one, is on single point service. On single point service, this is whereby everything is done at a single point. Like, you don't move to different direction. No, like for example, in petrol stations, whereby you have passers-by or people traveling, like Mstronde or something, then you walk in, you pay and pick. Everything is done at a single point. So mostly in drive-thrus, in driveways, whereby you just order whatever you want, like chips, chicken, or burger, or smokies, or hot dogs, at a single point. Everything takes place at a single point. And then fifth one, which is the last one, it's called in situ. In situ, or another word for in situ, is specialized service. So specialized service, this is common to those people who are using it, but they don't even know that it's called in situ. So this is whereby the establishment or whoever is selling food follows the customer to where they are. So like for example, if you're having a construction site in a certain type of a place, you'll have your vendors following you people, like the mjengo people. They'll always have people following them to where they are. Or for example, these people working in offices, and then we have these people selling pilau and everything. So where the food vendors will follow their clients to where they are. It is you following people. So that type of service is called in situ, or it is specialized. These types of service takes place away. They are served in places where they're not supposed to be served. What can I say? This type of service is done in areas not designed for service. Like for example, they are not sold in hotels. It is food and beverage service, yes, but it is served in places that are not meant for service. Like for example, a hospital is not meant to be served food, but patients have to eat. So that is an area, that is a specialized service, yes, because you're serving food in areas that are not designed to be served. Another example is in railway stations. We're serving food in aeroplanes, we're serving food, but the main reason there is for you to travel or for you to get treated. It's not like in hotels. That is why it is called specialized service. So now you know different methods of service. We've said we have table service, in situ service, self-service, assisted service, and now you know. So for this and many more, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let me help you be professional at what you do. See you soon. Cheers.